First, let me say for the record, I admire the treasurer for coming on the show this morning to defend himself. A lot of politicians run when scandal breaks, apparently not Dan Rutherford. We'd like to know more about the nature of the allegations. We'd like to know if he truly believes Bruce Rauner's people, their fingerprints are behind these allegations. There was an extraordinary news conference on Friday.
Nice try. Rutherford is staying in this race. I'm going to turn this back on him, and I'm going to be the Republican nominee, and by the time January 2015 comes, I'm taking the oath of office as governor of the state of Illinois.
We welcome back to the program, the John and Amy Show. Dan Rutherford, your Illinois State Treasurer. Good morning, Mr. Treasurer. How are you, sir?
I'm actually good. Good morning, John. Good morning, Amy. It's been an interesting spin here this past week. So,
I know at the press conference you were limited in what you could say because you were flanked by a team of your attorneys. Is there any way you can confirm or deny that this person who is making these accusations against you is a good friend of yours and you went to his wedding?
You know, I'd like to be able to comment on that, but I've been advised what that does, it starts to narrow down from a public standpoint who the individual is. And, you know, we're not able to do that, and that's the challenge I've got. You know, here's what brought it on. The accuser's attorney contacted our internal general counsel about 3 hours before I was getting ready to go to a debate in Peoria, and, you know, said that they had these accusations, and our attorney said, fine, let's have a conference call and let's go through it all. So the next day they did with our internal attorney, the general counsel, and the external, the outside labor attorney that, you know, works for the treasurer's office, and laid out these accusations and said, okay, fine. Went through a couple of other things, and then the part that became the most concerning was when it was said, not from us, but from the accuser's attorney, that we can keep this under wraps. Now, that immediately causes suspect. Mm-hmm. And then to add to it, to say, you know, a resolution could be $300,000. Okay. So our attorneys then said, send us what you got. They did. And having gone through it with internal attorneys, the outside attorney, I brought in a former FBI, retired former FBI head of white crimes area to look at everything. And there was nothing there. There was nothing there to substantiate anything.
Well, had this employee gone to HR and filed an internal complaint against you?
As of Friday, after all of this came out, the Inspector General does not have an outstanding claim.
Well, that makes it really sound like a shakedown.
Well, I'm being very careful what I respond to.
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Yeah, and here's the part that really... This is 6 weeks before an election. You know, we're on the cusp to nominate the Republican candidate for governor. And I've been in office 22 years, have managed both in the private sector and in my government role hundreds and hundreds of people. And never, ever, ever has anything ever been accused or brought.
Wanted to get your take here. We're talking with Dan Rutherford this morning, Illinois State Treasurer. Now there's a scandal involving his campaign. Just because Christine Svensson has represented Bruce Rauner in the past, does that, in your mind, mean his fingerprints are all over this?
I think there's a lot more to it than that. When you have an outside entity, outside political committee that goes and has negative attack ads on Congressman Aaron Schock, and I don't think there's any question in people's political mind that there was an attempt to keep him out of the governor's race. Mm-hmm. Now we have another political action committee, an external one. I don't know if they call them super PACs, but an external one that has started ads now already attacking the other candidates for governor of the Republican primary, not Mr. Rauner. And then you have the fact that purportedly he has told his fundraising folks, now this is not direct quotes from him, but others have said, so now here's the hearsay stuff, so I don't like to feed into it. But when it is noted that he is going to destroy his opponents, you put all of these things together, I don't have any question in my mind that Mr. Rauner's behind this in some way or another.
Let me extrapolate this out one more time. Maybe I've watched too many episodes of House of Cards.
Okay.
But it seems very ham-handed to me, so obvious that anybody can connect the dots on this. Do you think it's possible that in forget the Republicans here, that maybe people from the opposing party are behind this, because now you can taint the guy with the big dollars and the only guy who has won statewide in one swoop. In other words, one scandal takes down 50% of your competition.
I just don't know. I just don't know. The concerning thing for me is the fact that 22 years, nothing ever has ever been brought. I've got the cusp of the election upon us. I can't defend myself publicly, and we've got these swirling things going out there. It just is abundantly suspect to me. And and we've got an internal investigator that's working on this right now. That's going to be dealing with all of it. They're going to bring in all the the appropriate process to it, and I have said I want this as soon as we can, not hurry it to the expense of doing it right. And then at what point is the report available? What parts of it can we make public? And I want to get this done as soon as possible. I'm keeping on the campaign trail, moving on ahead with what I see as the important things to change Illinois, and not let this be a distraction.
Now, is it true or false? Do you or do you not keep a list of state employees who do campaign work for you?
Absolutely not true.
Okay. And then have you any state employees, if they want to on their weekends, they can campaign for you? That's not illegal.
Oh my gosh, no. And people do in all campaigns.
Yeah, well, I don't think, if I was an elected official, I would want to know who might do some work for me when they're off the time card.
Yeah.
And I'd know how they are, and I know who works for me in my office. And as long as there's no quid pro quo with advancing their career or giving them money or what have you, I don't necessarily see that as nefarious whatsoever. I think that's just the way the political system is set up.
I'm sorry, Amy, if you're saying, do I keep a list to see who's naughty and nice?
Yeah.
If that was the type of the question, absolutely not. Yes, there are people in government, some in our office, some in other offices, that on weekends they will involve in the political process, and in the evenings they will. There's absolutely no process that has them do it on obviously state time, and there is extremely no quid pro quo involved with it. And if there was any hint or feeling or allegation or concern for that, there's a process in place. We have an internal inspector general, independent of the Office of State Treasurer. And as I said, as of Friday night, there were no claims.
Dan, who first brought the $300,000 deal to you? Was it a member of your staff, or did they talk to you directly?
No, it was the attorneys, the accuser of the attorney.
Mm-hmm. Talk to you personally.
The accuser. No, it's brought to the attorney of the accuser brought it to the two attorneys of the Treasurer's Office, the Internal General Counsel and the Outside Labor Counsel.
And that attorney is Christine Svensson. I know the Republican world in Chicago is very close-knit. I'm sure you know her.
Yes, I do.
Are you friends with her? Or were you friends with her?
I don't know if I would term it as friends, but sure, I know her. We've been at events together. We've been at, events, Republican events. I know her.
Do you know personally if she's been backing Bruce Rauner or if she's contributed to his campaign?
I don't know. And I don't know.
The employee making these accusations, who hired him?
Again, I want to be careful because then that will start to narrow down who it is. And see, this is the difficult part because, here in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. Well, in the political arena and in the political, court of public opinion, it is, guilty until proven innocent.
Plus, the reason this is so nasty, I think, is because it has to be left unsaid, and you can't dial down and tell us the nature of these accusations. It smears your personal life, and it smears your professional life.
It is doing that.
And we saw some of that.
I feel bad for you. I'm just going to go out there and tell you, I know what it's like to be accused of something that you didn't do, and good. I'm glad that you came on the show and talked to us about it, and I just, I know a lot of people are praying for you.
Well, I appreciate it because what I'm not going to let it do is I'm not going to let it sidetrack me. I am not going to let it, take away from my good, credible, multiple years of public service. No accusations before. We're on the cusp of the election. There is no question, I believe, that this has gotten down to a two-man race. And, it is easy then to try to do these kind of things to take down who could be the primary opponent in this election cycle. And with just weeks ago, it has a complete tint and tinge of political smell to it.
Is there any way that you could, by making a pronouncement regarding either your personal or your professional life, turn this to your advantage, especially with moderates and independents?
Well, I just want to say that we're going through this, and we're going to go through all of the facts. We're going to have this the external investigation done by a retired federal investigator to go through it all. When the facts are known and it becomes public, I believe it will become abundantly clear how this was what I believe was intended to be.
Do you have a timetable, Mr. Secretary, regarding that?
My desire is as soon as possible, but what we have instructed the legal team is we would like to have it as soon as possible, but not at the expense of doing it thoroughly and right. Don't rush this at the expense of doing it right. And then at what point and what part can we say public while still maintaining the integrity of the personnel issues that are surrounding this?
Anything else, Sam? Mr. Secretary, we'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your courage in coming forward in a difficult time here. I appreciate that, number one.
Well, thank you. And I do appreciate you letting me have the opportunity to articulate this. And it literally is why I wanted to go public with it Friday, because transparency, I think, is so important. And this is an important time in Illinois to have a new governor. And I can see that there's an attempt to try to derail us from being that.
Dan Rutherford, thank you, sir. We'll have you back soon.
I'd like that. Thanks, Big John. Take care, Amy.
Dan Rutherford on our turnkey.pro answer line. Amy's been working this story all weekend long. We have some more details for you coming up next.